Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Prep and Villa Town Hall reopening meeting. Thank you so much for those of you that are joining us. My name is Chris Haggerty, President of Cathedral Prep and Villa Marine Academy. It's great to be with you this evening in more ways than one for me. I'm glad you have a chance to tune in. We certainly wish we could be with you in person, but as you know, circumstances prevent that from happening. And for now, this is the way our world and we are communicating with you. We're going to go through a brief presentation of what our reopening is going to look like, and then we're going to be more than happy to take your questions. So as they come along, please go ahead and fire away in the Q&A section of Microsoft Teams, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end, and we'll do everything we can to make sure we get all of your questions answered to the best of your satisfaction and to the best of our knowledge. Before we begin, we'd like to begin everything as we do with a prayer. And in this case, it's a prayer during this pandemic. So please join me in silence as I read our prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Loving God, we come to you full of anxiety about what may happen in the coming days, weeks, and months. Shower us with the peace Jesus promised to his disciples, and make us into steady pillars for those around us. In this time of uncertainty and epidemic, wake us up to the reminder that we are not alone. Even as we are asked to keep our distance from others, help us to find ways to reach out to those in need of our support. We pray especially for those whose incomes and livelihoods are threatened, for the children who will miss meals due to the school closures, for those already isolated, lonely, and scared. Loving God, give them your peace, and through our hands ensure they have what they need. Sustain, strengthen, and protect all caregivers. Bless them as they offer compassionate care and show selfless courage in the face of risk. Remind us each time we wash our hands that in our baptism, you call to let go of our fears and live in joy, peace, and hope. Amen. Mary, Queen of Prep, pray for us. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Tonight, I have with me three of the members of our mission leadership team. And beside myself, we have Mr. Will Patuch, who's our Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, who is joining me in the conference room at Cathedral Prep and Command Central. And by the way, we are using the exact equipment that we'll be using in the classrooms with a Lenovo ThinkSmart Hub with our Microsoft Team platform. So you are seeing what our kids will be using for any type of remote learning we will be doing this year. Also with us is Mr. Ross Oresco. Ross is our Vice President of Finance and Operations. That operations part means Ross oversees the technology and facility side of our operation, which is so critically important during the time of this pandemic. And also Mr. Bill Flanagan, Vice President of Athletics. For any athletic questions any of you may have, Bill is here to do his very best and level best to answer those questions as well. So I'm blessed to have a great team around me. I can't begin to tell you how many hours have been put in this summer to get ready for this moment for the start of the school year. There have been people, we've been working tirelessly, and the people whose names you see on this screen have made up our response and planning team. From the four of us to Mr. Tim Doherty, our VP of Enrollment Management, Chet Moffitt, our VP of Equity and Inclusion, Lauren Varner, our Vice President of Advancement, Rick Herbstritt, AVP on the prep side, Veronica Conero, AVP on the Villa side, Mr. Jason Lattiser, our new principal of Mother Teresa Academy, and we've been in consultation with community health leaders, government officials, legal counsel, many and most of who are Prep and Villa graduates. We have a network that runs wide and deep, and we have used the resources of so many of you in coming up with what we believe is the very best possible plan we have going forward. I would like to personally thank all of these people, and I would like to ask all of you folks out there, all of our mom and dads, thank these people as well, because they are doing this because what's in the best interest of your children. Your children are our children, and we're asking you to partner with us to make this the best possible school year we can, given the circumstances and the cards we've been dealt with. So please, please join me in thanking all of these people, because they are here for you and your family, and it means a lot to me if you'd reach out to them. So let's walk through a little bit of what our plan looks like. This is our mission statement. I'm not going to read it word for word. We'll leave the War and Peace version to you if you'd like to at some point in time. And by the way, we are recording this. And as long as I don't slip and say something really stupid, we're going to post it on the website tomorrow. So it will be there. But this is our statement, our mission statement as to how we went about preparing for our reopening plan. And, you know, let's just take a quick time out here. Let's be happy that we're talking about actually reopening the school. It's been since March 13, Will, about, right?
March 13.
March 13 that we haven't had any kids in the building. And it just doesn't seem right, because our mission, our very mission, are the young men and women that walk these hallways. Without them, we have no mission. So it's been a long time, and we're excited that we're even talking about the proposition of reopening our schools after just about 6 months. So we're here, we're on the precipice. This is the mission statement that has guided the decisions that we've made. And we're going to be happy tonight to share those decisions with you. So there are 4 areas that we concentrated on in the planning process. Health and wellness. And health and wellness means physical health, it means spiritual health, intellectual health, and emotional health. And the challenge for all of us these last 2 months was how to achieve and strike that balance between all of those so that we can deliver our promise of developing men and women vision in spirit, mind, and body, because that's the promise that we want to deliver to you. We're going to talk about continued instruction and what that's going to look like. We'll talk about our technology plan and how important a piece that's going to be in what we're going to do. And then communication, how we're going to keep you in touch with everything we're doing at every turn. We feel as if we've done a good job of that thus far. If we've fallen short, we want to hear from you about that. But we're going to do our level best to be on top of that, so you know what we know as soon as we know it. And again, go ahead and fire questions away whenever you'd like. So increased safety precautions and protocols. Masks and face coverings. All people who enter the building will be required to have a face mask or a face covering in order to remain in the building. That goes for guests, it goes for employees, faculty, staff, and administration, and it goes for the students at all times. So we're going to provide all of our students with branded masks. These are the Villa masks I have right here. And Will has our prep mask. So we're going to furnish masks on the first day of school when kids come in. So they'll get a mask. We'll ask that if the kids want to get creative with their own masks, we're just going to ask that the masks are solid color masks. We don't need emblems, anything like that. The only mask that will be acceptable to show any type of signage will be the prep Villa masks, okay? Also, face shields will be okay, right? So this is a face shield, I don't know if you can see, but it's got the Prep Villa brand on it. And yet, you know, so the other day I was wearing this in Wegmans, and I walked in and I went to the customer service area because I needed to talk to them. And a couple of women started to laugh, and I'm like, well, what are we laughing about here? So they said, well, you know, do you know who you look like? And I said, well, yeah, I look like John Glenn, the astronaut. I mean, I have no hair and I'm wearing a shield, so I look, well, of course, they had no idea who John Glenn was. So then they said, now, you don't look like, don't you know who you look like? I said, I got it. It's Brad Pitt. I look like Brad Pitt, right? Nope, wasn't Brad Pitt. I said, okay, who do I look like? You look like one of the Minions. Now, I'm 62 and I didn't know what the Blue Blazes a Minion was, but apparently it's this little dorky character. So I still wear this though. I like them. Your kids can wear them. Our teachers will be wearing them. Perfectly legit. So it's masks or these And we're going to ask you to help us with your sons and daughters, that they wear the mask properly at all times. The only time they're going to take the mask off will be in the cafeteria. But in the classroom, in between classes, we're going to ask our kids and our employees to wear the masks. I have 5 healthcare professionals in my family who are, I think, really smart people. Every single healthcare professional we spoke with talked about the importance to take this on of wearing the mask. And believe me, you're looking at somebody early on, I was like, yeah, mask, who needs? No, I've come around, and we need all of you to partner with us to have stress to the kids the importance of wearing the mask the right way. We're going to have temperature checks coming into the building. We've just invested in really cool mechanisms and technology.
Thermal scanners.
Thermal scanners where they walk in and temperatures are going to be taken as they come in the door. So we're going to have those at the entry to all of our buildings. We'll have signage throughout the hallway. We've disabled the water fountains. Bottle fillers will be active, not the water fountains themselves. We'll have hand sanitizing stations in common areas throughout the building as well. We're going to encourage our kids to wash their hands at all times. We have been trained in contact tracing. These are words that we've never heard before, but social distance, contact tracing has now become part of our daily vocabulary. We'll have a digital pass system, a smart pass. Will, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the smart pass system is basically going to replace a paper-based pass system, so that we have the ability to have more knowledge about where students have been around the building. Should there be any positive cases, to be able to aid and assist in that contact tracing process to ensure the health and safety of all of our students.
Technology, unbelievable. When I walk the hallways at prep, I try to write a fake pass myself, but it never worked. Increased spacing during lunch periods. So we've configured our cafeterias where we believe we can handle a certain number of students at one time, spaced apart. One thing that's going to be important here is the kids are going to be able to choose where they're going to sit. But once they make that choice, they need to sit in that same spot throughout the semester to make contact tracing easy, or at least as easy as possible. So we're going to have to space out in the cafeteria. Okay, increased cleaning and sanitation procedures. Ross has done an amazing job with the facilities team. And also we actually added a position getting ready for this school year. Mr. Mike Mishler, who you all know is our head football coach, is also now our director of facilities. So we added a member of the facilities team to make sure that we are cleansing and sanitizing the common areas of our building at all times. So between classes, after classes, in the evenings, we are going to take care of all high-touch surfaces as best we can. We're bringing extra staff on board to do so. We're going to clean the desks between classes. The faculty will be in charge of that. So we're going to do everything we can to create the safest, cleanest, healthiest environment as possible. We've also purchased disinfecting foggers for the classrooms and other common areas to use on a regular basis, and especially if there were to be a positive test. So these foggers, they'll wipe out the virus right quick. So extracurriculars and athletics. Those of you that already have sons and daughters participating know that we've been going full bore for almost a month now with our, maybe even a little more than a month, with our athletes. And our coaches and our athletes are doing a great job of following the screening procedures. So we'll be following all guidance from the PIAA on athletics and participation. And again, Bill is here to talk and take questions that you might have about that. But Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, the PIAA right now, as it stands, the intent is to start on time. Am I correct?
Yeah, Chris, last week, and hello to everyone, PIAA kicked the idea of a start date back to all 12 individual districts, and today District 10 approved an on-time start, which would consist of an August 10th start date for heat acclimatization for football and an August 17th start for all other fall sports. So we are on track right now to start on time.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Now, as all of us have learned in the last 3, 4, 5 months, everything we say today could change tomorrow. But we're planning on based on what we know right now. But as we know, this is a very fluid situation. The changes have been many and plenty over the last several months. But this is based on the information that we have today. So our intention is to participate fully in interscholastic athletics, going with the guidance, the health guidance from state and local officials. We also plan on having other extracurricular activities to continue as best as possible with social distancing and abiding by those guidelines. We believe that not only the academic piece of a teenager life is so important, but so is that social piece, that interactive piece, that longing and yearning to do other things with the talents that God has given them. It's up to us to give them the platform to utilize those talents. And we're going to do our level best to be able to try to deliver that. We believe very strongly in the full high school experience, and we'll do our best to provide that for your sons and daughters. Before I jump to the next one, Ross Oresco. Ross, do you have anything else on the facility side, Ross, that you might want to throw in that we've done or will be doing?
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. At this point, I don't have anything else. I think you've covered it pretty well. Certainly, I've seen some questions at least flow through that we'll get to in the Q&A portion at the end. So I think we'll get to some more information on that.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's keep rolling, Will. So resources. We'll have increased messaging to you about mental health resources and ways to manage the time and emotions at this stressful time. Our counselors will be willing to talk to your sons and daughters who might be feeling some type of an emotional stress. And sometimes our young ones, they don't even know it. They don't even know that they're under increased anxiety, whether it's wearing a mask or worrying about their studies or being remote or in school or worrying about catching the virus. And many times they won't voice that, mom and dad, to you, and they won't voice that to us. But we're going to encourage them to voice it to someone. And we have a great team of people and our guidance counselors that can be used as resources for our young men and women to talk to them about any of the stress that they might be experiencing, especially if a family member were to contract the virus. It starts to hit home when a family member is diagnosed with COVID-19. So we'll be there for your son and daughter. Our student assistance program will be in full gear, and we've decided to invest in a full-time nurse. We'll be taking applications actually here very shortly for that, but we thought it important that we had a full-time nurse on staff that will share between both the prep and Villa campus to ensure the health and safety of our kids. So our lunches, piece of we believe is great news. AVI Food Systems will be our new food provider in the dining halls at both Prep and Villa. They work with some of the leading major Catholic high schools in the northeastern part of the country. We are incredibly excited. Ross has been working with them virtually all summer long to get them set up and ready to go. So we have a great new provider. We believe that they'll be the best provider that we've had since we've done this merger 12 years ago. We're incredibly excited about partnering with AVI, and we think you will and your sons and daughters will be as well. So they provide service to 65 schools, some of the big boy, Xavier, all-boys school in Cincinnati, Ohio, Magnificat, an all-girls school in Cleveland, and many, many others. And we have vetted them thoroughly. So we'll have brand new menus at both campuses. We'll still be using My School Bucks, whatever that is, for payments. That's new to this president, but My School Bucks will be what we're using. So I guess I better find out what My School Bucks is all about and get some myself. Well, else I'm not going to be able to go to the cafeteria. We're going to serve everything in single serving containers, again, for health safety. So AVI is all set. We come up, you say what you want, pizza. They tell us that their Tex-Mex line is the #1 seller, Will. So if your kids like Mexican food, that's their #1 seller among all the schools. But they're going to be pre-prepared containers. They'll give the kids the containers. They take them back to their tables, and we're all good. So we're eliminating the prison-like cafeteria lines, probably for good reason. And hopefully we can keep it like that for quite some time.
Absolutely.
So our technology. I don't know if many of you had a chance to see the video that we put together, but I've got to tell you, I've only been a president here for about 4 weeks, a month. I am so incredibly proud of our tech team, Will and his faculty members, Ross and his crew, who put this together, because it was the first week of May. I wasn't even the president yet. And I challenged the team to say, look, we've got to deliver our academic product better than anybody else. And that was the challenge. I didn't know what that meant, because I don't have technology in my baby finger, right? I mean, I'm at these guys' mercy right now just talking into a camera. So they went and they dug and they researched and they came out with a way where you will have a synchronous experience no matter where you are in the world to tune into your classroom. And it's giving us the flexibility to make a lot of decisions. So the Microsoft Teams platform that you're on right now will be what we're using. We've got this Lenovo ThinkSmart Hub that is this genius that's able to connect all these different pieces like microphones and speakers and TVs and everything like that to synchronize that for our teachers. And you know what? Even Bob Achille, who's been doing this for 40-some years, who graduated in 1975, by the way, because he's my classmate, so he's a fossil like I am. Even Achille knows how to use this. That's how easy it is. And we have a panoramic camera with digital zoom as well. It will be a 100% classroom experience, no matter where you are. Now, that's really great news for us, and parents, that's really great news for you. Some of your sons and daughters might not like that, because what it means is they need to check in their class every single class. There's no sleeping at home. Vacations, have a nice time, but we want you to tune in. So there's no slippage at all in terms of the educational delivery. We'll be here to teach. We want to make sure that you partner with us to make sure your sons and daughters are wherever they are to learn. It'll be very important to us. But Will, we've been training teachers, right?
Yeah, we've had the teachers in for, we're going to be doing 3 separate trainings. We've already done 2 of those. We also have a newly created technology leaders committee made up of faculty members that are basically right there on that front line of transitioning our teachers more into digital space to make sure that all the resources are available for all of our students, not just physically in person, but also in digital space through Microsoft Teams.
And also thanks and shout outs to our faculty who've come in on their own time this summer to come in and learn this technology. And again, they're doing it because they care about your children. So thanks to our faculty for putting in some extra time this summer as well. So many of you also know some of the deliverables we have in terms of My School app and how we're going to deliver that. So our student information system of My School app, all of the grade reporting attendance, many of you are used to that already. We will continue to do that. We're using Microsoft Teams as our learning management system. So we've been able to integrate all of this to make what we hope will be as seamless a transition as possible from classroom to you, mom and dad, and to your sons and daughters as we deliver our academic promise of a superior college preparatory education for all of our young men and women. We're ready to go with this.
Absolutely.
Now, there are going to be hiccups, right? Let's not kid each other. We're going to have some hiccups that first week. We're going to ask you to be patient with us, but we will work them out, and this is going to be smooth sailing once we do. So please hang in there with us. The first week will be an expedition.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So just join us for that expedition. And
yeah, really quick, I just wanted to point out to folks watching, down there on the lower right-hand corner of the slide, that's actually the Microsoft Teams auditorium mode for students that are going to be remoting into classes. So the students that are physically in the room and our teachers will actually see students not looking just in the boxes like many of you are looking at us right now, but Microsoft is actually working on the technology to basically make it appear as though the students are in an auditorium, like a lecture hall at a college or university, remoting into the class.
Is that so cool? I mean, are you kidding? Look at that. It's unbelievable. Technology, folks, huh? Unreal. Okay, student attendance. So here we go. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what you've really been waiting for. A student can either be in person or remote every day. We're going to give you that option. Attendance will be taken for students in class and those remoting in at the same time. So whether a student's at home or in the building, we're taking class attendance every single class, all 8 periods. Pre-planned remote instruction, whether it be every day or a combination thereof, we want communicated the Friday before a week. So if you were to say, hey, you know what? Next week, I'd like my son or daughter to be at home the entire week. We simply ask that you let us know that by the previous Friday. It's going to be really hard for us to keep track of students coming and going on a daily basis. So we're asking you to work with us. If you want your son or daughter out for an entire week remotely, we would ask you to let us know by the previous Friday. Otherwise, we will expect them to be on the schedule that we assign to them, depending on what phase of the coronavirus we're in, yellow, green, or red, right? Student absences, limited to 10 days. We'll be flexible, but obviously, if there's a student that's diagnosed with a virus or there's a serious health situation that will prevent them from remoting in, we'll give flexibility, but we're going to need medical excuses for those times. The bottom line is this: if your students are at home and healthy, we expect them to be participating in the classroom experience. So we're going to hang on our policy of limited to 10 days. We'll be flexible. Obviously, we need to be flexible in this environment. Absolutely requires that. Okay? And keep the questions firing away. We've got them here. We'll get to them in just a couple minutes. Will, you want to take, so we surveyed you once, hit you with 5 or 6 questions. That came back and begged another 3 questions. We want to share the results of the latest survey, and we had at least half of our parents, 50% who chimed in. So this is what you told us with these questions. Will.
So for the first question, which method of instruction would you prefer in Pennsylvania, if Pennsylvania is in the green phase to begin the school year? 381 responses given. Just over about 73.5% responded having all students in attendance. And that was also added with the cloth masks or face shields worn in class in conjunction with Department of Health guidelines. Just under 19% selected alternating days of remote classes with synchronous instruction following the regular day schedule, and in building classes. Again, the same note about the masks and face shield. And then the last option, just over 7.5% everyday remote classes with synchronous instruction following the daily regular schedule. The second question, the options remained the same if we were in the yellow phase to begin the school year. One of the things that's been a little difficult for all of us is that it almost appears that the state has disregarded the green, yellow, red phase situation with the current regulations that are in place, limiting indoor engagements to no more than 25 people. So it's almost like it's part of the yellow phase, but also part of the green phase at the same time. A little over 50% of families basically chose for students to be in school every day. Over 31% selecting for alternating days of remote access with synchronous instruction. And then that moved the number up to over 18% choosing everyday remote classes with synchronous instruction. Basically, 18% of our families saying that they would keep their sons or daughters at home. Okay. And then the last question was just about lunch, getting a clearer idea. And hopefully ABI will change some people's opinions, especially understanding, first off, the health and safety precautions that are going to be put in place, by AVI. We have a lot of confidence in what they've been doing, what they've been putting together for our students in the next couple weeks. But then also that there's going to be, better food options for our students at the same time. Again, AVI comes highly recommended from many private schools throughout the region. Again, daily purchase 30%, 3 or 4 days a week, a little over 12%. Buying 1 or 2 days a week, that goes to a little under 22%, and then packing lunch every day, a little more than 36%. I don't know if that's concerned about cost or what those food options ultimately are.
And they're good. I'm worried about gaining weight, Will, with AVI. I've had their food at Magnificats and other places. It's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
very
good.
Have to be careful. So, some protocols. I think it would be hard pressed for schools to open and not expect a positive test for a student or employee at some point during the year. Several schools have already opened. I was reading an article just today. 14 or 15 schools have already opened, and virtually every one of them has already had some type of a positive test. So we have protocols in place should that happen if a student or staff member receives a positive test. We'll be quarantined immediately out of the building for all school events until that person is symptom-free and has written medical clearance from a doctor. Of course, those cases would be reported to the Erie County Health Department. So we'll answer a question that you're probably going to ask. We are not able to let anybody know who that person is. We will communicate with you if somebody has tested positive, but we cannot tell you, because of HIPAA law, who that person is. But as soon as we know of any one of our employees or students that test positive, you will be the next to know. We will then need to do some very close contact tracing. And this is where we're going to be counting on your sons and daughters to be forthright with us. We're counting on you to partner with us in this. If a student has been within someone who's tested positive within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, we're going to have to ask that student to quarantine until such time that they produce a negative test with a 2-day window after contact from that person, with that person who tested positive, is guided by the Erie County Health Department. So anybody who has been within anyone who's tested positive 6 feet for more than 15 minutes with a face covering or not, we're going to ask that person to quarantine.
Right, and hand in hand with that, Chris, one of the things that is also going to have to occur, you alluded to it about the cafeteria seating, but also in all of our classes, that when students are in the building for classes, that there will be, if there's not assigned seating, according to what the teacher wants to do, but students will have to sit in consistent seats to aid in any contact tracing efforts in that process. At the end of the day, our highest priority is to make sure the health and safety of all of our students, and should somebody come in contact with an individual that has received a positive COVID-19 test, we want to make sure that they stay safe and healthy as humanly possible.
Okay. All right, so to begin the school year, very important first 3 words. As of today, things could change between now and August 24th. As of today, we intend to begin the school year with an A-B hybrid model for our students, where depending on where your son's name lands in the alphabet, let's say it's A through L, and then it's M through Z. On Monday, A through L will be in school. On Tuesday, M through Z will be remote on Monday. And then we will alternate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday. So in a 6-day cycle, your son or daughter will be in the building 3 days and out of the building 3 days. When they are out of the building, they will be fully expected to report to their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and 8th period. There will be no difference whether they're in or out of the building. So if you're in the building on Monday and you're out on Tuesday, when you come back on Wednesday, you've learned everything on Tuesday that you'll need to be ready for Wednesday. So this is how we intend to begin the school year as of today. Now, important caveat. We're going to send out one more survey question to you. And that question will be this. Will you choose to begin the year with your son or daughter in full remote? Because we're giving you that option. If you do not feel that it's in your son or daughter's best interest to be in school at all, we're giving you the choice to stay at home and plug in remotely. We would like to know by the middle of August how many of you are going, and we know that some of you are because some of you have already told us you are. We'd like to know how many of you intend to take that option. If enough people take that option, this is an if enough people take that option, we may be able to get the rest of everybody in the building every day. And we will not need to A/B. We simply cannot accommodate all 300 some young ladies at Villa and 450 some young men at Prep during the day all in. We don't have enough room to do it safely. And safety and health is of utmost importance to us. It's the reason we invested literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in this technology. So if you're out of the building, there's no let up. We're not doing, hey, here's your lesson, go learn it, read this and come back. No, you're in class no matter where you are. So we're going to ask in this survey question, how many of you intend? If we get upwards of, I don't know, will we 20, 25, 30%, we may revisit the AB. We might be able to get everybody in the building. So seriously think about that. That question will come out tomorrow.
Either tomorrow or Friday.
Right, we'll shoot it out to you. So be ready to see that. So the AD will based on beginning of the initial of the last name. Students not in the building will be expected to call into all classes at all time. So here's some good news. A decision I was able to make as the president. Some people were surprised at this because they think I am Neanderthal and a caveman when it comes to Prep and Villa, traditions and old time. We're going to go with a relaxed dress code. So for August and September, your sons and daughters will be able to wear dress shorts, polo shirts. We're going to ask you to work with your sons and daughters. They don't violate that. We don't want them in gym shorts. We don't want them in t-shirts, dress shorts, polo collared shirt. And we're going to do that for all of August and September so that they can be as cool as possible. We know they're going to be wearing the face coverings, so we decided let's get them as comfortable as we can, let them breathe a little bit. So we're going to go over the relaxed dress code for those 2 months. If for some reason the kids can't get it, trust me, quicker than a finger snap, I'll change and we'll go back to uniforms. But the idea is dress shorts, polo shirts during the hot months. This final plan will be posted on the website on August 17th. We'll be submitting it to our board of directors for approval, and then we'll be submitted to a health department for their review. Communication pieces, we're going to be communicating with you through various means. School messenger, emails, phone calls. You're probably going to be sick of it, but we're going to do our level best to stay in front of the messaging so that you know what we know when we know it. That wraps up our presentation portion. We have several questions that we're going to get to, and we'll rattle through these as many as we can in the next 20 minutes or so, right? So I'll take some and I'll move them around, and then will you grab some and we'll get them to the appropriate person, okay? So first question, of course, they want to know if are we going to have a theater program? Well, unfortunately, Father Mike has not come out of his room yet. He's afraid of the virus, so there is no theater program. He's locked down, and no, I'm kidding. Father Mike would have a theater program if it was Armageddon and buildings were being blown up. We intend to have it. What it's going to look like, we don't know, but we intend to have a program of some kind where we have plays with spectators. That's going to depend on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But for those of us that want to be thespians, we want you to use those talents, and we'll do everything we can to put on shows. Another question came in about face shields. And we've done a lot of research here. So the question is, doesn't a face shield need to be worn with a mask because droplets can still get around? The research and the guidelines of Pennsylvania say that a face shield, as long as it covers the nose and the mouth, are perfectly legitimate as a replacement for a cloth mask. We drilled down on that real deep. That's what the guidelines say, and that's what will allow. But that's a really good question. So, in other words, if you got one of these face shields that, kind of goes like that, that'd be a no-no, right? It's got to come down. Nose, I got a big mouth, covers the mouth, you're good to go. Okay? We'll keep firing away. Go ahead. Grab another.
All right. One of the questions here, question about temperatures to be considered a fever. According to CDC guidelines, I'll take this one, Chris, if you don't mind. According to CDC guidelines, any student that registers a temperature of 100.4 degrees or above will be considered having an elevated fever and will be either isolated and then the temperature will be retaken. If the fever remains, that student will be required to go home. So that will be contact with parents, and that student won't be permitted to come into the building that day. And those temperatures are, again, going to be taken directly as students are coming into the building on the Cathedral Prep campus, the 9th Street entrance by the main office, the 10th Street athletic entrance, and on the Villa campus, the east doors by the parking lot and the front doors. No students at Villa will be permitted to be dropped off at the west doors for this coming school year.
Okay. If you forget a face mask, we will have extras. We ask you not to abuse that, by the way.
Yep.
But, if it's a chronic situation or it's the same student comes in and simply doesn't have a face mask at all, ever, well, we may have to talk to mom and dad about that. Really good question, next one, Will. And that is, if a family goes on vacation to a hotspot state, will the student be expected to be at home for 72 hours or 14 days prior to return to the building? In all honesty, we have not discussed that as a team yet, so I don't want to answer that one right now. We're going to need to sit down, but right now, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the recommendation is, I believe there are 19 or 26 states now.
Yep.
If you come from those states, you're being asked to quarantine. My instincts tell me we will probably fall on the side of that guidance, but that's not a for sure right now. It's a great question. We'll come back to you. Our suggestion would be try to stay out of states that are hotspots.
Yeah, and also going hand in hand with that, Chris, is one of the reasons for our technology was if there is some sort, I don't think anybody's going out there intentionally trying to get sick. The idea is that the technology that we have in our classrooms will ensure that students are able to continue to learn, even if they do need to quarantine for whatever reason. So that's a really big focus.
Okay, here's a question, Ross. Ross, if you know the answer to this one, then man, oh man, you already have my undying respect. But this is going to notch it up. Do we know what ingredients are in our fogger solutions?
Of course we do. Actually, I can't say that I know exactly every ingredient, but regarding the foggers, we consulted with professional cleaning services locally, and the product's a botanical product. It's safe. Evidently, they say you can drink it. We have no intention of doing that, but it's something that's safe for those who are applying it. It's safe for those who are around it, and it disinfects. So we've been happy with it thus far. It's being used all across Erie and Erie County, so we think we have a good solution in that product.
All right, thanks very much.
Yep.
Concerned about lunch times. Can you elaborate on how many kids will be in the lunch area at once and how far apart they will be?
Yeah, actually, so our assistant vice presidents on each campus, Mr. Rick Herbstreit here at Prep and Ms. Veronica Conroe over at Villa, they've actually spaced out all the seating in the cafeterias, tables, seats, to ensure at least 6 feet between all students, and that with that A-B rotational model that we can get all students into the cafeterias, ensuring at least 6 feet social distance between them when they're seated.
Okay, great. How are you going to clean classrooms with only 3 minutes between classes? Quickly. That's how we're going to do it. It's not, we're going to get the touch surfaces.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to be able to completely clean a classroom, but we're going to get the touch surfaces, the desks, where they might touch, between classes. Is it 4 minutes? What was it? 3?
3 minutes between
3
classes.
minutes, okay? So we're going to do our level best to do that. And again, everyone, this is teachers going above and beyond what they are trained to do. And all of us will be going above and beyond what we're asked to do in order to create the safest, cleanest, healthy environment possible. What are the expectations as to mask cleaning and face shield cleaning? Today, guidance has come out that face shields should be cleaned daily. We're going to ask you to clean them daily. I've got mine. I wear it. I spray it. It's fog proof, right? We would ask that your sons and daughters bring their masks home to be cleaned, right? We really don't, especially the guys who kind of like, they tie their tie in their first day of school and then they put it in their locker and they haven't untied it for 180 days. We really don't want the mask being hung up in the lockers for 180 days and you pull it out in the morning. So parents, again, this is a partnership. If we're going to do this safely, we need you with us. We need you on the team here, and we're going to be on your team to do this the right way. So we have to have a heightened awareness about cleanliness. We just do. So we're going to ask you to work with us with that. Will the kids know ahead of time what friends will be in their lunch period so they can sit by each other?
We can broadcast which teachers have which lunches before the first day of school so that students can coordinate with each other to be able to make that happen. Absolutely.
Okay, good. And a similar question to before, if students or adults are traveling out of this area for any reason, including athletics, will they quarantine before returning to school? We're going to talk about that. We'll come back with an answer, but we can assure you with athletics, we most likely won't be moving to a lot of states right now. Bill, you want to talk about that, about athletics and travel right now? Where are we with that?
Yeah, Chris, it's a solid question. Right now, we're doing everything in our power to stay with a region or regional schedule that's Pennsylvania based. It may filter into Ohio and New York, but clearly, given where this virus is, we're not going to be traveling very far with our teams. And I see that the next question, I'll just piggyback it very quickly. It says no spectators, parents at athletic events, correct? Right now, it is a Pennsylvania state government rule, not a PIAA rule, that says 25 people or less inside, i.e. a gym, 250 or less in a stadium. A lot of people have asked about basketball and how that pertains to volleyball with 25. PIAA has applied to have that waived. There was an expectation that the governor's office would release something today. The only release that was sent out was the Wolf administration is working to develop further guidance and recommendation to assist schools this fall, and will release as soon as it is available. So like you, we're still waiting to see what that is, but right now the 25 and 250 is in place.
Okay. What about students in the crowded hallways between classes? We're investing in, what are we going to call it, Will?
So we're putting
markers
in the hallways to ensure that students will be cognizant of the fact that there's 6 feet distance between them and any other students that are walking. Also messaging to students to keep to the right in the hallways to ensure a better flow of traffic. Also with reduced number of students in the building with the AB rotations, the intention is that you'll have fewer students in the hallway, less traffic jams, less congestion. And honestly, we're going to put a fair amount of we're obviously going to message to the students. That's going to be part of the first few days of best practices. This is what you need to be doing. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a school of whether that be 450 students or 225 students or 100 students. Sitting down trying to micromanage them is very, very difficult, if not perfectly impossible. The students are going to have to be responsible. And that goes back to what Chris was talking about, of saying, this is really a partnership of understanding that if we want to get more students into the building, if we want to make this whole COVID-19, pandemic, returning to school plan work, it's really going to rely on people following the guidance, the guidelines, and best practices. to ensure that, if people can follow these rules, then we can start talking about introducing more students into the school environment, whether that be, starting to bring the entire senior class back, or, starting to talk about getting, a wider portion, or people that live potentially further away, that, travel arrangements and things like that. Those are things we can start exploring if people can follow the guidelines. That's really where the importance is.
That's the trick. Look, this is brand new for all of us, and we're going into this year fully flexible and willing to accommodate more students if we believe we can do it safely. It's that simple. And if the girls and the guys follow the guidelines and they're behaving themselves, and we get it. They're teenagers. They're social beings. They're gonna wanna huddle up. But we're going to have to try to ask them to do our best not to do that. So a question about uniform requirement, we already addressed that we'll go with relaxed dress code so that our kids don't overheat during the school day. Hey, Ross, here's one. Will the My School Bucks balance from last year automatically transfer to this year?
Yep, that's a good question. Yeah, all the balances from last year will transfer right over. There's a couple other questions. Students will still be able to add money to their accounts either online or in the cafeterias, just like before. There's been some questions about lunch prices. Mm-hmm. Prices are going to be comparable to where they were last year. Like Chris and Will said already, I think, and expect, frankly, that a lot of you will be very happy with the offerings in the cafeteria, and the price is a big part of that, both the price and the taste. And then I think a couple questions about packing lunches. I mean, as Will mentioned, we certainly know from our survey results that many of you plan to do that. That's obviously welcome for any of you who choose to do so.
Okay. Thank you, Ross, for that. Very important that we make sure our kids stay healthy in terms of nourishment as well. So we think we have those bases covered. Will there be a homecoming dance? Wow. If there's a homecoming dance, the bald guy will be on the dance floor and I'll be breaking it down. Okay. I promise you, if there's a homecoming dance, the president will be on the dance floor and I'll be dancing. Right now, that doesn't seem likely. I have to be honest with you. That's not our decision, but the way it stands right now, 25 or less non-instructional in a given space is not allowed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we might have several very small homecoming dances. I don't know, with 24 people in the room, in the gym. We're going to have to see. Look, this stinks, okay? We want our kids to have this experience, but we're going to be ready to pivot. Homecoming is typically in September or October. If it loosens up in January, we'll do homecoming then. We'll do it during a basketball game. But sometime during the next 12 months, we're going to do our level best to give the complete experience. But right now, we could not do a homecoming dance. We'll plan for one, but it might not happen. Some folks out there like Microsoft Teams. We're glad you like it because that's the path we're going right now, right? Mm-hmm. Do students need to follow the dress code at home for learning, or can they just wear spirit wear? Here's the answer. I'm going to let Will answer that.
We would ultimately like students to be in the same dress code. We are doing a relaxed dress code for students on both campuses. So we would, again, polo shirts for students on that are remoting in at the very least. There's something about just dressing appropriately,
getting ready for the day.
Even when we were working remotely, anybody on our end on the call will know that if you were remoting into a meeting with me or something, I was wearing a collared shirt and a tie every day, even if I was working out of my dining room.
Yeah.
It just helped you get into that mental space to be prepared to work and move through the day.
Yeah. So there have also been a lot of questions about sneakers as well. Good. I'm good with sneakers, right? Kids want to wear sneakers, fine. But we're going to require socks, I think.
Yes.
Right? So wear socks, Dockers, socks. I always get accused of being a dork wearing socks and Dockers, but I'm old, so I'm willing to be the dork, I suppose. But sneakers, we're good to go with that. Okay? Question here. Our internet drops due to weather, etc. A student is unable to connect Should they just send an email to the teacher? Will they be able to watch recorded class later? Will, what's the deal, man?
So we're currently looking into, there's some legal concerns that we have with recording the classes to just ensure that we don't have other students on there. What we can share will probably end up having to be a scrubbed version of that, or else we would just ask the teachers record the direct instructional piece and not any additional class activities from that day.
Okay.
However, sending an email to a teacher to get caught up or address any issues is the best course of action in that situation.
All right. If kids decide to remote for a week, does it need to be for the entire week, or can it be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday option? We're going to ask if you choose to remote for the week, you remote for the week.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll be part of the hybrid A/B alphabet model.
Right.
Right. So it's one or the other. Right. But it would be really hard for us if you say, well, we're going to come in on Monday, but not Wednesday and Friday. So you're either out for the week or you're following the hybrid schedule. Okay. If a family member in the home tests positive for COVID, will the student who lives in that home be required to attend school online, or will they be able to attend the brick and mortar school on campus?
They'll have to be online in that situation. Again, if somebody in your house has tested positive for COVID-19, the idea is that if people live together, in terms of the testing, you're an assumed positive, right? And if a student is that lives with another individual that has positive, that assumed positive, then also has to go through those quarantine protocols.
Okay. Hey, Flans, we had a bunch of questions about lockers. What do we have? Where'd Bill go?
I think just there's been different questions that have popped up here today about locker usage and spacing of lockers. There's been quite a few.
Okay. Will's got it. What's
Yep, I've got for that one. Basically, what we're going to be doing is to accommodate the AB schedule to begin the school year. We're actually going to be assigning student lockers staggered on the basis of that AB split, so that there's going to be at least a few feet between all student lockers. We're also going to be encouraging students not to linger at their lockers. For them to, when you come in, either go down to the cafeteria for breakfast, you go ahead and take one of the seats, or else, move to your first period class.
Okay. So question, how many students in a classroom? By dividing the alphabet, we're probably looking at 12, 10 to 12, right. 13.
And that's going to depend on the student's schedule. That's going to depend on the scheduling out of students. Obviously, the divide in half is not necessarily going to be perfect in all instances, and we're going to be taking a look at all of those classes coming up in the next few days.
Yeah, and we'll just use a great word. This is imperfect, everyone, right? There's not a perfect solution for a pandemic. There just isn't. There's imperfections in all of this, but we're doing our level best to try to eliminate the number of imperfections. So nothing is going to be better than, we're all in all the time, the regular experience. I pray every single day and night for that day to come, and we will do everything in our power to make that happen sooner rather than later. So this is going to be imperfect. I wish it wasn't, but it is for now. Given faculty members will need to clean after each period, will the class schedule remain the same? Right? We intend to. Yeah,
and if we do need, just like everything else in this situation, if we determine that we do need to make some sort of an adjustment, we'll make the adjustment as needed. However, obviously, there is time to be able to wipe down those desks, and also, again, we're talking about fewer students in class, so fewer surfaces that need to be touched as a result of that.
Here's an interesting one. How are you going to ensure students are not cheating on tests when they're not in class? I have to tell you, I am shocked the question would even be asked. What is cheating? What is that all about? Will?
Well, so a couple different strategies that we all the teachers put in place both during the remote period of instruction from March until the end of the school year. Some of that can be having the students the same time, timing tests a little bit more strictly for the students that are remoting in. However, one of the practices that we're going to be spending a lot more time on with our faculty, and we've already started doing this, is moving away from some of the traditional assessment models that have been used in the past, just that simple rote regurgitation, but rather encouraging our teachers to start developing more analysis, synthesis, applications of theories and concepts into the assessment practices rather than just the standard sit down, take exam, right? So it's more about application, and there's a variety of different safeguards that we can put in place. Also using Microsoft Suite products at the exact same time, Office 365 products, by using forms. Some of our teachers are doing some phenomenal work already over the summer, learning how to use forms to be able to take the cheating component or the potential cheating component out of assessments more effectively.
Yeah, and the technology is allowing teachers to also time questions, so you don't have a chance to peruse the internet to find the right answer.
Right.
Although we know that your sons and daughters are pretty clever. Right. We just want them to be clever productively. Right. So we'll take a look at it. Who do we contact on Fridays if we want to go full remote? That would be the main office.
Main office on each campus.
Right.
Yep.
Each campus just contact the main office. Will 8th grade program have the option of remote or in person?
So we've actually been working, Tim Doherty, our Vice President of Enrollment Management, and Christine Hood, the Associate Director of Enrollment Management. We're actually meeting today, and we're going to be reaching out to all of the students, the families enrolled in the 8th grade honors program, to basically work out a schedule to do that 50-50 split, as well as working with your schools to ensure that there's going to be a place if you are remoting in, but you're physically going to be in the building for your other school, for your Cathedral Elementary School, to be able to attend your classes remotely.
Okay. When in quarantine, will the student be required to attend classes? If they're healthy,
physically able.
Yeah. So whether it's COVID, the flu, a cold, strep throat, if a student is healthy, we want them learning. If they're not, obviously they can't, and they'll make up their work just like they would as if they were sick at home in the regular normal world that we live in. Okay. So we'll want to make sure we're working with you on that one, Mom and Dad. That's the bottom line there. More questions about cafeteria, copy of the menu prior to the school year starting. I'm sure we're gonna do menus, right, Ross? They'll fire out a weekly menu, AVI.
Yep. Yeah, the menu will evolve. I think that question was kind of truncated. It was partially about, I think, food allergies. So there are concerns about that. I do know AVI has multiple dietitians on staff, and they do have the ability to accommodate food allergies. So we'll work on getting menus out there, but I think if there's any concerns in advance, please don't hesitate to contact me or any of the mission leadership team here with those, and we'll make sure they get addressed.
Okay. A question about rapid testing. Have you partnered with someone you can refer students and staff to for rapid testing? The answer is yes. We do. I'd rather not broadcast that tonight, but if someone would like to do a rapid test, there are resources in Erie to have that done. They are not cheap. They're in about the $200 range to do it, but it's a finger prick. It can be done. We've got some partners in the medical profession who have these tests in Erie if a family would choose to have a rapid test to learn if their child has been exposed. Okay. There's a question about the Smart Pass system. You want to run it just one more time? Will?
Yeah, so the Smart Pass system is right on the students' iPads, right? So teachers are going to be trained at the beginning of the school year how to use this. So it's a really neat system as we sat through the demo. One of our IT guys in the room right over here, Andy, has been doing some great work. Andy's actually worked on this. That the teachers, students, that interaction. So like a student asked to go to the bathroom, they can be given a pass, a digital pass. They don't have to. They're not going to take their iPads to the bathroom with them. But what they'll do is they can the teacher can set the pass where they're supposed to be going, and they can even put a timer on that for how long it should take them to be able to go to the bathroom and then be able to come back. If they're going to the guidance office, if they're going to the main office, they're going to any other locations around the school, another teacher's room during a study hall, for example, so that we have a record that we can basically go back and be able to reference to say, hey, this is where the student was supposed to be. Again, the trust of the students doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? And making sure that, you know, they're referencing back to like, hey, I said I was going to the guidance counselor. And also that's also communicated from both the sending teacher to the receiving teacher. So if the receiving teacher never gets that student, you know, in for extra help during a study hall or something like that, that can be recorded as well. And then, you know, we can follow up to see where that student ultimately went.
We want to be respectful of your time. We also want to get through a few more questions, but it seems like many of you are hanging in there. So we'll go through a couple more. Important question. How are you going to handle remote learning with those taking Gannon classes? So for those students, we have a number of our juniors and seniors who will be attending Gannon and also learning remotely. The Gannon schedule is on. It's nothing changes. So they're going to go to Gannon every day for their classes. We have talked, we haven't finalized this, but we have talked about after Gannon, do they need to hustle and go home, or might they come back to their building? We're going to work that one
Yeah,
out.
we have to look into some of that. Also with Gannon, some of their courses are splitting up 50-50. So if it's a Tuesday, Thursday course, for example, half the students might be on Tuesday, half the students might be on Thursday, but they're always expected to remote in. So we're trying to get a little bit more clarity about that, but we're definitely going to work with people. If this does not mesh up on a particular instructional day, we're all, you know, the fourth period teachers are going to have to be flexible and understand if a student does have to travel back home, that they might not be able to report in, and that would be something that we would have documented, and that wouldn't count against a student.
Okay, good. How about study hall at home? Have a nice nap. Next. I'm kidding.
You're not wrong, Chris. We might ask for people to just remote in at the beginning to do an attendance check quickly, but then after that, the remainder of the period would be, they don't have to have their iPads, they're, you know, logged into Teams or anything like that. They can, as Chris said, they can go take a nap, they can go get a snack or something like that.
Sure. When will our son or daughter know what schedule A/B they will be on?
We hope to have an answer to that next week.
Okay.
At the end of next week.
All right. After school sports. If my children are learning remotely, I won't be able to get them to the school for practice at the end of the day.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I don't quite understand why, but we're still, I mean, if your son or daughter participates in sports, obviously they'll be at home and not coming from school. We're doing everything we can to accommodate. Hey, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Are we running our own buses for athletics to get from Villa to the event center, or prep to the event center, or prep to Villa, or to the baseball or soccer field? How are we doing that?
Yeah, that's still the plan this year, and that question came up in the chat also about transportation. I'll just say very briefly, we are going to transport as much as possible to practice from the campuses again this year, but understand that a bus that normally would fit 48, we're down to about 12 or 13 for proper social distancing, and all students would, when they're getting on, if it's at the beginning of the day for a Meadville run, say, they're going to have their temperature taken and a mask on when they get on the bus. And then for transportation to actual games and activities, we are going to be leaning quite a bit more on parents this year just because of those numbers, while also utilizing our own busing and coach busing depending on the situation and where we're heading. So to your point of earlier, it's all fluid. We're trying to adjust to it while also being cognizant of how important safety and the transportation aspect will be for all student athletes.
Okay, so look, we're getting all kinds of questions about the dress code. Polo shirts, solid color, non-solid color, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to be uniform police here, right? Just let's use our heads, everybody. Just make it a nice, if it's orange preferred, blue preferred, if it's a Notre Dame shirt, they're going to get straight A's. So we'll just roll that way, all right? But if you got a nice polo shirt that's a Penn State or Notre Dame or something, wear it. So we're not going to look for solid colors or not solid colors. Let's look presentable. I think we all know what presentable means.
Presentable and appropriate.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Still going through here. Most of the questions, we've answered a bunch of these already.
Well, if students do want to wear their regular uniforms, they are permitted to do so. That was
Sure.
one of the questions somebody asked.
Okay, indeed, indeed. Dress code questions, we're gonna move on from that. If internet fails in a remote situation, ours definitely does. Again, we answered that earlier, that we'll do our best to get you the lessons that you need. But again, the beauty of the hybrid of 1 day in and 1 day out is you might lose that 1 day out, but you're gonna be right back in school the next day, right? So it's not gonna be an elongated period of time where you may have a difficult time with internet. But we are at the mercy of the World Wide Web. And again, it's not a perfect system anywhere at all.
There's a question here. A student who takes scanning classes has to quarantine due to being exposed to a student at Villa or Prep who's tested positive. How will that work with Gannon? Gannon is also making options available to be flexible with their students that, they'll have to communicate to the university that, hey, I've been in contact, I need to quarantine. And then Gannon instructors have already received instruction to be flexible about those situations as well.
Okay, here's a good one, Will. So if you take theater or guitar class, how's that going to be done remotely? And does that person have to come into school to take those classes?
Actually, we can make that work. Outside of class, there's a variety of other options for students to be able to learn and to be able to expand their musical or theatrical gifts and talents by remoting into class. Again, you can still do performance via video, right? You can still act out things. The other thing too, also with some of our music classes, that students will have the ability to actually, for some of like the vocal courses, voice classes, we've already, we're toying with a couple different options where students might be just doing like preparing, pieces or what are they going to perform, and then they might actually have to record themselves outside of school, actually singing or performing because of the risks associated with singing in a crowded space and the spread of viral particles when doing that.
Okay. Question about face shields. Can they be purchased through Prep? Right now, we haven't planned on purchasing face shields, but if you'd like to purchase them, you can. We do have plenty of these branded. I don't know if you can see them well enough or not, but it's got the Prep logo and the Villa logo here. We have plenty of these that we'd be happy to share with your son or daughter. So if they want to walk around town, repping the brand, rep the brand, baby. We always want that, right? Okay. Number of people safely into the cafeteria. We've done those counts. I don't recall what they are.
Yeah, at Prep, the number is 155 students. Between 155 and 160 students safely into the cafeteria, spaced 6 feet apart from each other with the seating that we have. At Villa, in the cafeteria, also utilizing the faculty dining room space, we can get approximately 90 students into the cafeteria, all spaced 6 feet apart.
Okay, great question. If a young man or young woman is sent home with a temperature, are they required to get a COVID test? The answer is no. They will not be required to get a COVID test. If they continue to develop symptoms and have a temperature, we would strongly recommend mom and dad that they be tested.
Right.
And that would be for the safety of your entire family, right, to make sure. But if somebody's running a temperature, it could be that they're running a high temperature that day. We'll send them home. They come back, check the temp again. If they're symptom free, they come back to school, right? Okay. And again, these thermal scanners, they're amazing things.
It's really neat technology, to say the least.
Okay, why don't we take a couple more and then we'll let everybody get to their nights, okay? So how will the process of A and B days work for students taking classes at Gannon? We talked about that. We're going to A-B it. They're going to take their classes at Gannon every day.
Right.
Right? And they'll be on their A-B schedule when they get to Prep or Villa.
Question here about backpacks. We will not, students will be able to use their lockers. However, we are not going to be permitting students to use backpacks as we have over the last 2 full school years. At the same, just because of the safety risks that the backpacks do present. Also, again, it's another fabric surface that could potentially carry viral particles.
Okay. Flans, do we take care of athletes being transported for away games? We talked about that yet?
We did, and again, that's something that one of the good questions that did come up was, when we are leaning on parents potentially more this year, the question came up, so we get to transport our kids, but we can't go and watch the game. That is certainly a problem right now that exists or potentially exists statewide that we're trying to get through, and we're looking for more clarity again from PIAA. So as the next couple weeks go by, we're hoping that we learn a little bit more as our state association leans on the governor's office for parents to be allowed to attend games, and we'll have again more on that as it also pertains to transportation once we have that information.
Okay, here's a good question. To eliminate contact at the lockers in between classes and lunches, will students be able to use book bags this year?
No book bags.
No book bags. So no book bags, we'll use the lockers, we'll keep them clean.
Yep, and more and more items will be going onto iPads across the board. Right?
Okay. Very good. If the remote student attends with an iPad, are they allowed to speak to the teacher? The answer is yes. And then the question goes on, what if they cannot hear or see the shared material? If you're hearing Will and I right now, this is the classroom experience. You're getting it right now. So you're at home, you're your student right now, right? Learning remotely. So if you can hear us, your student's going to be just fine. And once we turn the mics on, your student's going to be able to wave in, sign in, and talk, and the entire class will be able to hear the question your student's asking or the answer they're giving.
And another reason for us, opting to use Microsoft Teams was because of the flexibility of the platform itself. So, iPads, obviously all of our students are furnished with iPads. We've had one-to-one iPads. We're now going into our 9th school year, I believe, with one-to-one iPads. On the prep campus, I think we've been one-to-one device now for something like 14, 16 years, somewhere in there. But if a student wants to use a laptop or a desktop PC or even a phone to be able to remote into their classes, as long as you have Microsoft Teams downloaded onto that device, you have the ability and signed into your Office 365 account that is provided by the school. You have the ability to remote into your classes. So again, folks that have laptops at home or students that might have laptops or family PC or something like that, they can use those devices as well to remote in. So it's not, some of the other platforms that we're looking at, were a little bit more clamped down that said like you could only use a school provided device for that. That is not the case for Microsoft Teams.
Yes. How long do you anticipate the AB schedule lasting? It's quite simple. It depends on the guidelines from the health department and the Department of Education. If those guidelines change in the favor of having more people in the building, it'll be like that. We'll get more people in the building. If we believe after a few weeks of, we think maybe we can get more people in the building than the AB route, we're going to do it. Please understand, our goal is to have as many people in the building as possible and remain healthy. That's the ultimate goal. So we'll certainly want to do that. Freshman orientation, will it differ from what we've been told? Will it be AB? We're meeting on Monday as our mission leadership team to talk about what the first week of school is going to look like. Right now, freshman mom and dads, we believe we're going to be able to do our freshman orientation the way we've always done it, with all the freshmen coming in the Friday prior to everybody else. Stay tuned. We'll have an answer for you early next week on that. So we're going to plan our first week of school next week. Okay? Why don't we do a couple more questions and then we can move on. Anything you see here, Will, that might be outside of anything that's been asked before? A lot of the questions are similar in nature.
Yeah, here's one good question that I really, really appreciate. What kind of internet connection at home will be needed? Our household will have 4 people working remotely. In our conversations with our internet provider, we use VNet, we have fiber, so like there's not a big concern on our end about being able to make sure that the signal gets out to you all. For your home internet connection, if you are using broadband, coaxial cable that comes into your house, contact your internet provider, because oftentimes they don't update their modems that you have. So if you haven't had a modem refresh or something like that, make sure that you contact your cable provider to see if there's an update potentially, even before you start talking about like increasing bandwidth or anything like that at your home or your connection speed. That's a good place to start. And then also, again, communicating whether you're using Spectrum. I live in Edinburgh, so we have Armstrong or whoever your internet provider is. It's good to open up that dialogue.
Okay. If a student is ill on the remote learning day, should the parent call the office and report them answer? Yes. In terms of attendance, there is no different whether you're in the building or out of the building. It's the simplest answer we can give. Your student is deemed eligible for class unless we hear from you, right? Will there be weekly mass? Absolutely. You're done right, there will be. Absolutely. We're a Catholic school and we're going to church. So I was on the phone today with the county health department trying to get clarification on this 25 or less indoors. As long as it is for instructional purposes, we can fit about 150 to 200 kids in our auditorium at Prep and about 100 at Villa. And for masses, because we are a religious organization, then we can gather for mass just like our parishes are gathering for mass every single week. So we can put 100 to 150 kids in mass at one time, and then we can remote or stream the mass to those who are at home. And we will arrange it so that you're in person at least every other week to go to mass. We're going to have mass. We're going to pray. There are people that say we can't pray our way through this. I'm not one of those people, because I think we can. And we're going to pray hard for each other, for our world, for our country. We're going to mass, ladies and gentlemen, because that's who we are. So great question. And yes, Father Mike, Father Jason will not be able to be on vacation. They're going to be doing their deal, and we'll do it safely, but we're going to church. Anything else that can see well as we scroll through most of the questions? I think we've been through many of them. You have some really good questions, ladies and gentlemen, and we're very, very thrilled that you've hung in there this long. I think maybe we're going to wrap up. If you have any, we are all here for you. Ross, any closing thoughts at all about, facilities and cleaning? And you know what, one thing if we have a positive case, right, are we going to clean the building? Are we going to close down for a couple of days? What's protocol, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be following CDC guidelines for that. The length of time that we will be closed down may vary. We'll have to work through that, but yeah, we'll be making sure we'll be taking extra steps to clean and disinfect facilities when that happens.
Okay. And again, the reason we've invested so much money in the technology is if that's the case and we had to close down so we can defog the entire campus, whichever campus it might be, and we need to remote everybody for a day or two, we can do that. And we don't miss a beat. We don't miss a beat. Flans, any closing remarks, anything on athletics?
No, again, it's changing. I'm seeing today or tonight that there's even some of our opponents, might not be participating in the fall. That hasn't been decided. But knowing that it's fluid, we just ask everyone as best as possible to be patient. We will communicate through our coaches and your sons and daughters as quickly as possible with the best information. And again, we're looking forward to the start of a great year, and hope everybody out there remains safe.
Okay, Will, any closing remarks?
No, I just thank everybody for your patience, your prayers. Know that we're all praying for you, for all yourselves, your family's health and safety, and also very much appreciate your confidence in knowing how hard we're working to make sure that your sons and daughters continue to get the experience that they all expect at Prep and Villa.
Okay, everyone, I picked one great year to become a president. Pandemic, unrest in the country, car crash, fracture 9 ribs. It's going great, everybody, but we're here. I'm blessed to have a great team of people around me. I read in the Wall Street Journal a couple weeks ago this quote I'd like to share with you. In order to become what we need to be, we cannot remain what we are. In order to take that next step, become what we need to be, we can't remain what we are. We are in flux, we're fluid. We're here to deliver the best possible high school experience that can be delivered during a pandemic. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for making the financial sacrifice to send your son or daughter to Prep and Villa. We will make it worth every single penny. That's my guarantee to all of you. We wish you great health. We want to see the kids back here in 3 weeks. We can't wait to have them back in the building. Any questions you might have from anybody on our team, please continue to do that. We'll stay in communication. Please keep us in your prayers. We need them, and know that you're in ours. God bless you in everything that you do. Be healthy. Enjoy the rest of your summer. But on August 24th, it's lights on, ladies and gentlemen, and we're getting back to business. God bless and have a good evening.